I know we have a business who solves a problem, and we are so good at solving the problem. And this is a problem that is valid, it is relevant for literally tens of millions of people around the world. And I really want to help them on that journey.
Welcome back to the Fitt Insider podcast. I'm your host, Joe Veneri. Today I'm joined by Athletic Greens CEO Chris Ashenden. In this episode, we discuss Chris's journey from testing different formulations to bootstrapping the business to more recently earning $1 billion valuation. We also talk about the evolution of the brand, why its subscription model works, and how they plan to accelerate growth. Let's get into it. Hi, Chris. Welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Great to be here.
You have a lot going on, some big news here recently, from funding to hiring and all sorts of things happening at Athletic Greens. So I think a lot of folks have heard of the brand, have tried the product, but for anyone who's not familiar, maybe just introduce yourself and tell us about the company.
Sure. Well, my name is Chris Ashenden. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Athletic Greens. Our core product, AG1, is a product that massively takes the friction out of how you can cover your nutritional bases every day. I founded this company back in 2009 with a proper launch in 2010. I've had a lifetime journey as an entrepreneur. Most of the time has been extremely high passion around health and fitness. And despite thinking I knew a lot about health and fitness and nutrition, I found myself getting sick all the time. By 2008, I was very tired of getting sick all the time. And I ended up at a clinic in Phoenix where I spent $35,000 in every blood, stool, saliva test you can possibly imagine to find, to my shock, that I just wasn't absorbing nutrients properly. And the solution from this clinic was a customized to my blood biochemistry $100 a day supplement regime. It was about 50 pills a day. I got out of that experience two big things. One, most of what we think we know about nutrition is wrong. And two, there's got to be a better way. And my whole life has always been about how can there be a better way? And I love the words, how could we, how could I, how can we, as entrepreneurs, and how we approach problems that we seek to solve, both for ourselves and other people. In this instance, it was my problem. I wanted to figure out a way that could get me a ton of nutrients that I could ingest very easily, both quality, variety, quantity. I wanted to figure out a way I could get huge support for my gut health and everything that subsequently modulates from your immune system to absorption of other nutrients to how it supports literally nearly everything in your body. And I wanted to give myself some healthy love every day to key bodily systems. And I'm an essentialist. I like very, very simple things that drive really high efficacy. So we literally went looking for how do we take the friction out of doing all of that? How do we solve for no one has the perfect diet? You need to work on the nutrients you ingest. No one has perfect gut health. You need to work on your gut health. And no one has the perfect lifestyle. You need to work both on the nutrients and the gut health and then give some daily support. And I wanted it to be simple. I wanted it to be convenient. And so we figured out how to do that, make it taste delicious, in my opinion, without compromising. And because it was going to be a ton of nutrients together, it would have been over 20 capsules elected for a powder. It just basically forms a beverage. It takes 90 seconds a day. I challenge anyone to find a healthier 90-second investment that they can make every day in their health. Now, when we first kicked it off, I brought this to the US. I was an athletic guy. It was a green-looking powder. And so my marketing genius was to say, I'm going to call it Athletic Greens. Yeah, straight to the moon, right? I knew that I was customer number one. When we put this together, I was really thinking about how do I solve my problem. My customers were number 2 and 3 in my mind. I was really thinking, how can I keep them as robust and as vibrant, as healthy, with all cognition and all faculties intact for as long as possible, something I am very passionate about. And the early purveyors, the early thought leaders who tried it and gave feedback were very supportive. So I kind of knew I was onto something. So I was pretty bold in how we went. I did the big rookie mistake in terms of how I named the product because I didn't really realize until we'd been going for a while that in the US, greens, as the sort of segment and categories come to be known, are generally a very different price point. They're not particularly comprehensive. They're really just powdered grasses and a few other veggies thrown in. And that we had ultimately put ourselves into a category that we didn't really want to play in. And recently, we rebranded as AG1 to really speak as well to the female audience and just point out, like, we're doing something very different. We literally have pioneered a category called foundational nutrition. It's a drink that we believe will set the stage for a whole lot of excitement as people really step up and take ownership of their own health. We can talk about that a bit more, but that's the long version, man. very proud to be here with you today, and thank you for being an AG1 customer. I love meeting AG1 customers. It's literally what lights me up the most.
Yeah, and absolutely. I appreciate you making time. And I think diving into all those different aspects that you talked about, don't want to go too far back and kind of rehash some of the things that both I've heard you speak about before, and want to focus on kind of like forward looking as well. But in terms of, a lot of the information out there is like you started the company, you had all these kind of problems yourself. Also, you were solving a problem for yourself. And then next thing you know, you're bootstrapping sales, and 10 years on, you're able to accelerate the business. In that period of getting started, you get the product out there. How did you go from, hey, I have this, I think it solves a problem, and gone through 50 plus iterations of what the formulation actually is at this point? How are you getting those initial customers? How are you soliciting feedback from them? And how did that go into like, at what point, I have something here that we can ramp up and sustain with sales such that bootstrapping it was even a possibility?
Good question. I knew I had something within 10 days of putting the whole bundle together into one scoop. And I knew I had something even further when other people tried it and said, hey man, this is really good stuff. The challenges I had as I thought about what we want to do is in the early days in particular, I inherently had fundamentally over-engineered a product versus what the existing sort of willingness to pay was as it related to how do you cover your bases, what's functional nutrition, what does this drink do? So I sort of had a number of advisors in the early days who actually said to me, hey, look, you put so much in here, and like in the industry, in the whole nutrition industry, like you're miles and miles off normal margins. Like we recommend you dumb this product way down. Another guy who had a very successful business in the hundreds of millions of dollars said you need to either dumb it down or crank it up. And I just said, no, I realized I want to be in the reorder business. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get caught when they focus too much on that first sale instead of thinking, how do you get the second sale? And I always encourage any founders I speak to really focus on being in the reorder business. It is the only business you want to be on if you're selling a product. And so we did that. We focused on being in the reorder business. It was all about acquiring one great customer at a time. I really believe in the power of authenticity and a trusted recommendation. So even before it was a thing, we went looking for people in the know who drove thought leadership around health, nutrition, fitness, wellness. So a lot of early adopters who were fitness enthusiasts, nutritionists, naturopaths, functional medicine docs, personal trainers, various people that really worked on body composition. So there are a lot of questions about fat loss in the early years. But it was that ability to get the authentic and trusted recommendation that really drove the beginning of the groundswell. And obviously worked really hard, to your point, 10 years of continual investment and continual improvement. And we really are proud of our entire approach around continuous improvement in terms of how we've iterated around that product, 52 iterations over those 10 years, 75 of the highest quality ingredients in the world, and just continually trying to look, how can we better serve our customers? How can we better drive value back to our customers? And I think when you do that for long enough, and we discussed a little bit on brand building at the beginning, brands and the trust that you need to build with a brand. Like we take the trust and the quality so seriously. We have a no compromises approach to how we do that. And you don't build that overnight. You build it over repeatedly over delivering on your promise, on your brand promise, on your quality promise. And we've done that. And I'm really proud of the work we've done there and very grateful as a result for the trust. And we feel a high degree of responsibility to always out deliver on that brand promise and that brand trust. So over time, and we've just built up a steady base of very loyal customers, a steady base of thought leaders. Now they're called creators in the creator economy. And we love the fact that we're empowering this creator economy. I think it's so cool. And I think what's really one of the big shifts that we've really seen is that people don't want to look up to someone they admire and watch them get paid to slug something back on TV that they know they don't take every day. They don't tell their kids to take every day. They don't wish their parents took every day. And there's no real part of their life. It's just them taking a check to slug something that, let's face it, most of the time is really unhealthy. And what I think people want is trust and authenticity. They want to know, hey, you're a thought leader. I admire how you think and approach the world. What do you do? What are the investments you make, Joe, in your health every day? What are the few things that you do that really make a difference in your life that I can try and adopt in my own approach to continuous improvement and make a difference in mine? And I think if you look at that piece around our customers and how broad the base are, they're all people who are looking to approach life with an approach around continuous improvement. So trusted, authentic, recommendation, and then over delivering have sort of been the real keys to our success. And then, of course, there's this massive movement underway. We call it the health ownership movement. We even say that we're literally here to empower this movement. It's what gets me out of bed every morning, or it's what makes me most delighted when I meet a customer like you and hear about your story, your journey, where else you're taking ownership of your own health, have a spectacular life, what else you're doing in your own life to take ownership of other areas to compound towards an even more spectacular life. That's the journey we want to really help people on. It starts, I believe, with taking ownership of your own health. And it tiers like this. Invest in your health. These are the simple things that truly make a difference. Invest in your key relationships. These are the people closest to you, your spouse, your kids, your parents, your closest friends, those that really light up your life and really what it's all about. And then invest your time with purpose and meaning and literally drive an impact. And I think a lot of your listeners here, particularly those who really come from themselves, a background, like way back when as nutritionists or trainers or anything else, a whole lot of it is the satisfaction you get from getting out of bed and helping other people every day.
I think when hearing you talk about that, there's this, you mentioned it, kind of essentialist, the focusing on the things that really move the needle, wanting to have that trust and authenticity. A lot of times when you have whether it's a kind of a supplement brand or you have a kind of diet protocol or any type of health and wellness routine, there's kind of a front man out there, a guru of sorts that positions themselves that they have all the secrets, they have the answers, do things this way and you'll achieve, your wildest dreams. You come off as very much the opposite of that, very pragmatic, very disciplined, direct in terms of, this is a piece of the overall health and wellness puzzle. Was that an intentional decision? Was that just you being authentic to who you are? How did that factor into it?
So this is a really good question, man. I think you've hit the nail on the head. What do people want? People want to feel amazing, which means they want to know that they're doing the things that ultimately move the needle. I think they're demanding a higher bar of quality and a higher trust bar from the brands they interface with than ever before. And this is a great thing. And I think, like, if you look at that 10 years of continuous innovation and continual work, we're continually trying to move the bar up there. But in terms of how we communicate, it's just, I want to be proud of everything I ever say and do. I literally will always tell people what I honestly think. And I think people really want the authenticity. And it's just about building the type of world I want to live in, being the type of value giving the type of value that I would like to receive. And that's literally just about creating a different, better way of doing it. You probably have heard me say I don't have a huge amount of time for most of the folks out there. I think there's unfortunately a lot of fast money to be made when people go about this the wrong way. We've always taken a diametrically opposed approach. I think most of the incumbents in the industry are really about feet of shelf space. They're not customer-centric solutions. They're trying to win with a retailer, and it's a very different game. It's not a customer-first, customer-centric solution to a problem. It's all very confusing and chaotic. There's just so much craziness out there. And I think now online, you're seeing the same thing. It's literally tens of thousands of options. Everyone's promising this, promising that. It's crap. It's not how the world works. The world works by you making investments that truly make a difference. That means that, like, for us to live the responsibility of a customer-centric approach, we literally did something that had never been done before. We put so much nutrition and value into that beverage, that scoop, that the first people who saw what we were doing and how much it was costing us to do that said, "You're crazy." And we proved them wrong. And I'm very excited about that. I think there's going to be a shift as well towards more authenticity, more trust with the brand. And what we won't do ever is break that trust. In fact, when we work with our various thought leaders and creators, if they authentically love what we're doing, they love AG1, they love the mission, they love everything else, there's always a beautiful match to be had. And it's like anytime we've ever come across someone, no matter how powerful, no matter how much they could have helped us, if we haven't felt that authenticity, this is like, it's fine, man. I really appreciate the opportunity, but we'll pass for now. And I think just doing that for 10 years and continuing to do it, and we'll do it forever, this is part of how I want to live my life, man. And you strike me as a straight shooter. I'm sure you'll tell me if we ever drop the ball. In fact, I ask you to ever tell me anywhere you see anything you think we can do better as an AG1 customer, and we'll be all over it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about us serving you and really empowering you on that life journey. Like I said, that's what gives me the goosebumps. That's what lights me up. That's the journey for me as an entrepreneur. Is I want to be that value. I want to see this rise and rise, and I want to literally empower a sea change in how people are proactively taking ownership of their health for tens of millions of people. And it's that opportunity. It's that ability to do that. And the fact that we can move the needle for people with a really simple 90-second a day piece, it sets up a gateway for a cascading impact of other beautiful habits. People always end up making wiser, smarter decisions around how they move, how they sleep, type of food they buy, how they eat at home. And it's a cascading thing that's really powerful. And I think we're in this inflection point of that movement. And this is the number one thing that I live for, man. It's really cool.
It's super powerful to hear you talk about it. And with that, as it sits in this nutritional supplement category and kind of addressing, some of the brands that you spoke about who maybe do that, there is a stigma around, are they able to live up to the claims that they put out there? How do they do that? Is there any type of efficacy? Is there any type of testing? How do you ensure that the ingredients that are on the label are actually the ingredients that are in there? Have you thought about, do you have any plans to, do any studies down the path of proving the effectiveness, or thinking about it in terms of this is how we continue to validate it? Or is it more, which so often is the case in kind of the wellness and nutritional space, it's like, I feel the difference, but it hasn't quite been to the point where it's been tested and studied like a healthcare treatment or a science-backed kind of treatment.
Yeah, so it's a good question. So we're not a medical product. Like, we're not required by the FDA to go have a series of clinical studies to be able to put this out in the market. We are research and science backed with some of the smartest research advisors, like full stop period, in the world. And each of those ingredients gets massively vetted for quality. There's science and a ton of science on all of them. There's growing science on the synergy of how they work together, something that we pioneered as a synergistic approach to how your body absorbs nutrients that interfaces with the gut health. And then there's this quality certifications that you can look at to say, yeah, what is in the bottle, the pouch, the packet is on the label. Those are things like the NSF certified for sport, which tell you that what is on the label is in there and nothing else is. It's also like the Therapeutic Goods Administration of Australia, which is considered by many to be the most stringent regulatory body. I mean, there's a couple of things that we've done and kind of pioneered in terms of how they relate to a foundation nutritional product. That sort of really set the bar on, like, we just won't dip below. And it's quite interesting because I don't think people realize that many supplements in the US, it's just kind of like the Wild West. People are throwing all sorts of stuff in there. They scale their business to a certain point, then they shut the doors and disappear when they start getting, 3-letter agencies knock on their door or a few more critiques. And it's kind of a shame because there are some great operators out there who are determined to add value to people's lives. And those are the only people I want to interface with in the industry. And I'm pretty keen to really continue to set the bar on how we move this whole minimum acceptable standard around quality.
When you think about the kind of emerging trends in the space, personalization is a huge one. And we're starting to see companies that are doing blood testing, saliva testing, urine testing as it relates to, creating custom formulas. You've kind of said, this is the one formula. We're not going to do maybe this custom approach or, have shelves full of all these different products such that we kind of force people to choose or buy all these things. How do you think about the opportunity there and whether or not you'll pursue that or even launching additional products in general?
It's a good question. If you consider, how did I end up stepping into this? I spent so much money. Like, it was so much money on all these tests. And the solution was I literally customized my biochemistry regime. And it was just moving up the few pieces that were clinically the most down. And I think what people don't realize is, and this is why we use the term foundational nutrition, it is about ingesting to build a foundation to make you more robust. And it's our entire approach to how we supply it. So this is something that you do foundationally each and every day to get enough nutrient quality, variety, that idea of nutrient density. This is principle of requisite variety. I used to say nature loves variety, but foundational functional medicine docs are now saying requisite variety to ensure you're feeding a diverse gut biome. There's all sorts of things about modulating your gut and just ensuring your gut is ultimately working and just kind of tweaking it back into the green each and every day. So we do that at a foundational level. I think if you talk to nutritionists and other people and you say, should people focus on whole foods? They'll say, yeah. Should people improve their gut health? They'll say, yeah. And then if you sit there and say, great, big box, nicely ticked. And then you sit there and say, well, all right, if you're doing that and you have a clinical ailment that you have identified that makes you want to really bring up the dose of something, or you're working with a health professional for some specific need, or you just want to experiment, like, go for it, but lay the base, like lay in that foundational base. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve, is that I think most people don't realize the difference between survival and sort of being in the norm. And you're talking about being under a bell curve, a blood test that includes all humanity in North America, and think how many of those people are truly, truly healthy. It's why you keep seeing standard deviations move down, like for guys, particularly around testosterone and what the norm is, like absolutely crazy. And it's really terrifying. So you're being compared to those folks as a normal, healthy human. I would say, fuck that. You want to be robust as humanly possible. You want to step forth and give yourself the best chance you can to have a healthy, spectacular life. And that starts with you taking ownership, then you doing, like to that point on simplicity, the basic things that actually work to move the needle. And beyond laying in a foundational nutritional habit, it's focusing on food quality. It's focusing on the macros that work right for you, trying to keep your blood sugar in a healthy range. I have no time for the folks that throw any format of sugar hidden in any way into any product and then try to claim that it's great for you unless you are actively exercising. There's a lot of those out there. You want to make sure you're eating in a way that doesn't sort of set up an inflammatory response for you. Now, if you do those things, and the core of that, again, for most people is pretty, like the bulk of the bell curve is the majority is the same. The edges get tuned very heavily based on your lifestyle, your history, your activity level. How are you sleeping? What else are you doing? You have to go from there, man, and own your sleep, own movement, own your outdoor sun exposure. Make sure you're getting some community and happy times. And voila, watch what happens. Like, it's like, holy shit, I feel amazing. I look amazing. My life's better. It's kind of not rocket science, but the discipline to take ownership of it just requires someone to step up and say, yep, I'm going to go do that. This is how I live my life. And it's a lifestyle approach, man, that we want people to take.
So to maybe push you on that a little bit, will we see other products from Athletic Greens?
Probably one day. I mean, at this stage, if you consider the problem that we solve and what we do every time we get kind of incremental economy of scale in our purchasing power, we take the chunk of that and we look to drive value back to our customer. And I think that discipline in doing that is how drives us disrupting our own product continuously. So I think we can continue to innovate and build and lead the curve around how we set up this foundational nutritional piece. And we're essentialists. So we're not going to put something else and sell it to you separately if we could have put it into AG1. So at least for the near term, man, the runway is really, really strong to do this. Now, we have relationships and we love the relationships we have with our amazing customers. And, you guys tell us all the time, hey, we have this other problem. We'd love you to help solve it. How would you help us solve this? And there are a few of those that kind of tickle the interest. And we've been working on R&D for 8 to 10 years on a bunch of things. And one of the things that Finance Around allows us to do is to accelerate our ability to bring those to market. Whether we do and in what timing is still TBD. But yeah, there's a lot of testing and research going on, man, and some beta stuff that's pretty cool. And the optionality is there. Let's just say that.
We'll be watching. We'll keep an eye out for it, and super curious to see how it evolves. The other thing, other than when you think about like the product line and what that means for the business model and how you're approaching that with this essentialism and then the trust and relationship that goes into it, is what you've kind of called this, not so much direct to consumer, but direct with consumer, really reaching them where they are. It's led to the kind of online subscription model where it's really about retention and repeat purchases. Obviously, you have the kind of pull to go into retail or think about other distribution channels. How are you approaching that, and what does it look like as you continue to ramp up the business?
Well, so just on the product piece, I don't think about products. I literally don't think of it. I think of it in problems. What problem are we trying to solve? Right? Like, where's that pain point for our customer? How can we better serve them? How can we better solve that problem? And all the things in our R&D start with what problem are we trying to solve on every kind of internal document, and we structure those and set them up. In terms of our business, and you have heard me talk about the D2C piece, obviously, on some interviews. So people throw out that word, and I think a lot of people like really fail to grasp the real power of having a direct relationship is your ability to form a two-way relationship with your customer. And people say D2C, I kind of cringe. We're on a journey with our customers. It's direct with our customers. I'm doing this for you and with you, my customer. As part of that, I get better and better at how I can serve you when you tell me how we can get better. We can work with you with the latest science to try new things and get better. By the same token, you get to work with us to help us be the future of a beautiful company. We're determined to make a business that operates and basically a team of people that works as beautifully as AG1 does. And we're pretty excited to see how we can continue to innovate on both fronts there. So yeah, retail's always there. We know we want to meet our customers really where they want to be met. To the sense that we ever test anything in the retail, it'll all be about strategically meeting our customers and actually just meeting them where they want us to meet them, as opposed to any kind of blanket approach, which has never been our way. It's always strategic, test, learn, iterate.
Yeah, you mentioned the branding piece, like shifting away from the athletic, greens. Both of those things mean different things to different people. And then the AG1 kind of evolution. And I've read, I think it was kind of huge growth in terms of appealing to women and expanding into that market. How do you balance and kind of walk the line between, you want to work with people, so like folks like Lewis Hamilton's an investor, Joe Rogan talks about it all the time, Tim Ferriss promotes the product, and that's a very specific person. You don't want to leave them behind as you evolve the brand, but you do want to attract like this wider audience that, to your point, when you think about who needs something like this foundationally and the domino effect that it could have in terms of other healthy behaviors. How do you, continue to appeal to, I guess, me, who started using it because in some ways it did say athletic greens, and that really was what I was looking for, appealing to that, keeping that relationship in place, and then continuing to evolve the brand as well?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I think the appeal there will stand as long as we deliver on our brand promise. And that's one of the cool things about AG1 is that it's very broad appeal. And moving aggressively away from that greens nomenclature is really allowing us to tell the story. Like this product for most, it's really like 9 synergistic products in one. For most people, almost instantly, you're going to replace out of your cupboard a multivitamin, a multimineral, a pre-probiotic, a symbiotic, which is an idea that we pioneered of combining nutrients in synergy with each other and support of gut health and absorption of nutrients, and how those nutrients ultimately impact your body. And the same applies to sort of phytonutrients and a breadth of phytonutrients and specialized herbs. So that's everything from what some people would call greens to some of the more particular herbs and phytonutrients like some of the adaptogens like ashwagandha and other things. We've had ashwagandha and a pretty complete suite of adaptogens since 2010. That was way before it was cool. And I'm really proud of our team for trying to keep pushing this curve forward. And I think that replacement, the understanding of the replacement value, it's like, I can take this, it's literally 90 seconds, and I can replace all those other things. It's like, wow, that's amazing. That's a different person from, I just want the best, and I'm here for my next gold medal, give me the best. And there are different kind of value props inherent in there, but at its core, the problem we're solving is how do we make it easier to have the power of this foundational nutritional habit and do that in a customer-centric way. So I'm not particularly concerned that we'll leave behind those people, because in actual fact, every iteration is even better than the last that they came for.
When you think about, and as we get towards the end of the conversation, want to kind of look ahead, you recently, in back-to-back years, raised funding, first from like a strategic round of kind of celebrities, athletes, folks who were proponents of the brand, as well as more recently $115 million, valuing the company at north of $1 billion, which is incredible. Congratulations on, the continued success and milestones there. One thing that kind of strikes me is if you think about, continuing to navigate the business, you're certainly committed to this lifestyle. You talk about being really fired up and wanting to wake up every day to continue to serve this kind of customer and help people live a healthier lifestyle. When you think about continuing to operate as an independent company, potentially going public, or acquisitions that might come, it kind of strikes me as the suitors in this case are typically like big food companies or CPG companies that don't kind of have that same ethos. So how do you think about just potential exits or continuing to run the company, or what you think is the kind of, goal that you're aspiring towards in terms of the North Star as you think about continuing to grow?
Customers and movement, and do it with amazing people. We have such a cool team of bold, courageous, innovative people, and they're here to make a dent in the universe. I'm here to make a dent in the universe. And I think that attracts, being mission driven, like, and living that mission really attracts some amazingly quality, talented people. So I think we're just warming up. I think the valuation is a reflection of both our growth and the opportunity and how good we are at really focusing on driving innovation and a customer first solution to a pretty big problem. And right now, man, we're going for it. We're in build mode. Thank you for the nice words. Like whenever I see any kind of PR or anything else like this come out, it just makes me just want to build. It's an interesting kind of, I feel good. I feel grateful. I have such gratitude to everyone who stood by us and helped us along the way, especially our customers and our thought partners. And the fire in the belly is bigger than it has ever been, man. It's a different feeling from what it was before, when so much of it is about like survival.
When you were starting out and solving this problem for yourself, coming up with the various iterations, is what the company has grown into what you envisioned? Did you think it could get this big? Did you have aspirations that it would get this big? Or was it more so just one kind of brick at a time and it evolved? How has that played out?
So I was very fortunate. I had the help of some phenomenally smart people who really helped me put this product together. And I think one of the errors I made when I landed and started doing this was I've always had this vision to help empower the lives of millions of people. And I used to hammer customers with emails the whole time. I mean, I just really want them to take ownership of this spectacular life journey. I think what I didn't do well enough, particularly in the early phase, was communicate that bigger, bolder vision. And I'm not shy about it anymore. You can probably tell. And I'm super lit up by it. It's literally the thing that makes me most excited every day. And when you are boldly stepping into that, and I know we have a business who solves a problem, and we are so good at solving the problem. And this is a problem that is valid. It is relevant for literally tens of millions of people around the world. And I really want to help them on that journey, on that lifestyle approach to how to take ownership of their own health. We have so much runway there that it's really sort of literally just at an inflection point in terms of where I think we could go. So I'm not in a hurry to do anything other than what we're doing right now. I think, is it a milestone? Yes, but what it really is a building block that really helps us drive both more innovation and value back to our existing customers. At the same time, we can bring our innovation and value to new customers around the world. And that's again what gets us all out of bed in the morning, man. It's a fun journey, and I love that you're on it, man. I think it's very cool.
Absolutely. And then I guess kind of one last question before we wrap up here. Getting to this point, you talk about you're in build mode, plenty of capital to deploy down that path. To the extent that you can talk about it, is there anything that you're excited about we should be on the lookout for, or any kind of key benchmarks that you look at and say, this is what we hope to accomplish over the first half of this year or even through 2022?
Yes, we're still a private company. To the extent we share things, it's only when we believe that they will greater further the mission. Otherwise, we keep it to ourselves. I can safely say that our growth rate has been outstanding and getting faster. And what you'll see is a lot more customer first innovation really accelerate. Like a lot of the stuff we've always been doing can now come rocketing to the fore. So I think you'll see a pretty cool iteration 53 launch. I think you'll see more touch points, more value, and more ways we interact with our customers. And those are the things that get us most excited. And you'll see more growth. Like, we're going to work really hard to continue to win every single day the trust and the recommendation of every existing customer we have. And I think that approach is what gets us there in terms of growing as a business.
Awesome. And we'll get you out of here on this, you talking about it and the journey and the kind of formulation. For anybody who has not tried it, wants to give it a try or learn more about Athletic Greens, where would you direct them?
So athleticgreens.com, give it a shot. You'll see some people who have some element of nutrient deficiency or torn up gut experience a relatively quick change in digestion and general sense of well-being. For most, like any foundational habit, it's going to layer in, and that effect is going to compound with time. Regardless, come give it a shot, layer in the foundation nutrition, and call us. If you're not utterly happy, we will give you money back. I'd love to be on this journey with you as well.
Chris, thanks so much for spending some time with us today and sharing the journey. We'll definitely be following along as you continue to ramp up. So appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate you having me, mate.